Welcome to the thrilling world of Security Squawk, where we explore cybersecurity. Guiding you through online threats, we'll aid you in understanding safety protocols and trends. Meet our gurus, Bryan from Exact IT, Reginald from Arc Solvers, and Randy from Tech Rescue. Together, we'll delve into current events and hot cybersecurity topics, helping you comprehend their impact. Stay informed, stay secure. Security Squawk, the business of cybersecurity. Buckle up, let's dive in.
All right, welcome back to the Security Squawk podcast. I'm Bryan Hornung here with Randy, Bryan, and Reginald Ande. Folks, today is a perfect example of why cybersecurity is not an IT problem. It's a leadership problem, and the kind that shows up in revenue, downtime, legal exposure, and board level accountability. Randy, I got a quick opener for you here. So we're gonna come to you last, but I want to tease yours a little bit because it's pretty interesting. So if your payment processor went dark for, like, say, 3 days, how long until your leadership team stops saying, well, that's a vendor issue?
Exactly.
Right?
They might for a day or two, but yeah, a vendor issue is a you issue is a reality.
That's right. So before we jump in today, quick favor, remember, help us grow the show. We don't bring you ads. We don't annoy you with sponsors. We don't bring in people who want to be interviewed on this show just to promote their product or tell you how smart they are. We just want to take a look at what's going out there in the world of cybersecurity and break it down for you in a way that makes sense so you can start doing something in your business, your place of work, or what have you. So the way you help us out is by subscribing where you can, either on social media, on your favorite podcasting platform, over on YouTube, where we stream this video live every week. Share the episode with another operator who actually owns a business and owns outcomes like we're going to talk about today. And if you really want to support Randy, Ande, and I, you can always hit us up at buymeacoffee.com/security squawk. And any little bit helps, and we will obviously give you a shout out on the show. So to jump right into it, guys, I'm going to start off with my article or my topic, which is this SolarWinds issue that this company is having yet again. And this is something that hasn't really become an issue yet, but stay tuned, folks. It's going to become one, right? And I think that's, for both Ande and I, what we're going to talk about today, that's really what we're doing. We're giving you a heads up that things are changing, right? And these vulnerabilities, when they hit, they can become pretty big. And a lot of people use this software. So this impacts SolarWinds Web Help Desk. So if you have it anywhere in your environment, hear me clearly. Attackers are actively exploiting it and using that access to set up ransomware conditions, right? And ransomware conditions are basically backdoors and discovering and exploiting vulnerabilities so they can wreak the most havoc, or what we call have the most blast radius, right? They want to hit as much as they possibly can when they actually reveal themselves. And this isn't someday that this is going to happen. This is happening right now. So we're in the phase right now where cyber criminals are putting these things in place. So I don't know if it's going to be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or we're just going to see a slew of companies saying they're down. They got hit with something. They don't know what it is. Oh, we use SolarWinds and we didn't patch, right? And that's going to be how this plays out. So we're going to see the classic pattern, guys, of executives underestimating this threat, right? A single exposed support tool will become the doorway into these businesses, and then everything is going to look like normal activity, normal IT activity, right up until it's a disaster. And that's when these guys reveal themselves, right? They'll be in there for weeks, and they will come out when they want to be known, right? So I took a look at this article, guys, and here's what stood out, right? I'm going to break this down from a technical perspective. I usually don't do this on this show, but I think it's interesting, and I think it also, the way I'm going to do it, will paint a good picture for anyone who's not in IT on how this works, right? So, number one, you have to understand this intrusion path that they now have set up for themselves is ugly because it's super quiet, right? All the researchers involved with this, the top cybersecurity companies that are out there that look at this stuff, get this telemetry in. We're talking about companies like CrowdStrike, Huntress, Microsoft, they've all looked at this and they've all saw the same thing, that attackers are coming off compromised web help desk instances. That's the SolarWinds product we're talking about. And then installing legitimate remote management agents for unattended access, right? So they're installing Screen Connect, they're installing TeamViewer, they're installing, remote anywhere, whatever they can get their hands on that'll get on your systems, they'll use it. Then it gets worse, guys. Then they're dropping what's called VeloCryptor, which is normally a forensic tool used by defenders, but they can also use it as a command and control to attack points inside of these companies' infrastructure. So they're going to use this tool to kind of spread themselves across your environment, right? And this is a tool that teams like us use to find things in your environment that can be exploited, and they're turning these tools that we use on your company to find these things very easily. And they're going to use things like Cloudflare tunnels, right, to hide themselves and make sure that you can't see the traffic, your SOC team can't see the traffic, your EDR, your CrowdStrike, your Bitdefender, whatever tool you're using, right? They're going to circumvent that. They're going to hide under and use a Cloudflare tunnel to circumvent everything that they're doing and all the noise that they're creating, which is not a good thing. And Randy, you're going to love to talk about this once I'm done, right? Because you love how they live off the lamb. And that's all that I'm telling you right here is what they're doing, right? So they're building reliable remote channels out of your network using trusted services that your security team isn't looking for. That's the reality. So here's the point. When attackers can do this kind of stuff and do this kind of stuff, right? Hands-on activity, encryption is a choice that they make to maximize leverage and make sure that they can pull this off. So the question is not, can we prevent every exploit? The question is, can we keep a single compromised system from turning into company-wide downtime? That is the question you are faced with right now if you run this tool, right? Now is the time to reduce the blast radius. So here are 2 leadership moves I'm going to give you, and I'm going to turn this over to the boys to kind of give them to give you their perspective, right? But number one, patch discipline. These SolarWinds flaws are known, they're out there, they're tracked, and now they're even patched. So if you're not patching, you're behind, and that's a technical issue, not a SolarWinds issue. That's your own governance not living up to the standards that you need to live up to. Second, assume your security tools are going to miss all this stuff, because as I laid out for you, they will. They have it figured out. Everything that they do is going to fly under the radar from everything that's out there. Promise you. If your environment treats legitimate remote tools, all your things as, hey, we have this stuff in place, we're safe, with this kind of attack, they are going to live off of your tooling and they are going to be successful. So, guys, if you had a company with this stuff in your environment right now, what would you be doing, or what would you be advising your clients? Let's go with that.
Well, so you obviously have to get back into control where these guys aren't in control. The issue here, the glaring issue I hear in this is lack of application control. And what I'm talking about is things that you haven't already listed. That's a form of zero trust are being allowed to run. And the deal is, y'all, you said this, you're right, Brian. I was over here going bananas when you were talking about all that, because they're running tools that aren't going to make Windows Defender blow a gasket, which Windows Defender is very common out there. They're doing things like, in this case, deployed Zoho's RMM tool. An RMM tool is a legit tool that MSPs use to control computers and help keep them updated and all this jazz. So they ran that shouldn't have been allowed because they're obviously not using Zoho already. So it shouldn't have been allowed in the first place because it would have been an unknown, though not evil, an unknown. It's crazy, Bryan, because I saw this in my research. This is not just at SolarWinds right now. It's happening at several other breaches where they're using a legit RMM tool. This one here just so happens a lot of people aren't using it because it's kind of new and or small. So that way they can roll it out and it doesn't conflict. So like if they tried to use an RMM tool like that, one of us already used, it would have a conflict and it wouldn't be able to install. So they're picking smaller RMM tools and then deploying them. But then from there, they also sent stuff to Elasticsearch. And Elasticsearch is another big player in the security world. This is not like some little sketchy tool or something like that. Once again, doesn't blow a gasket in Windows Defender. And here's my final thought. I bet I'd be willing to bet $50 or $100 that this whole exploit framework was put together by bad AI, because they're looking at all the things and saying, hey, you get them to install this, click on an email, whatever, it won't freak out Windows Defender, and who knows what else it won't freak out. It might not freak out SentinelOne, I don't know, but you do that, and then all these legit tools. So my bet is that they used the bad guys used AI to put together this attack chain.
Well, yeah, and two things. First, the scariest part about this, I was reading in another article, this all can be done within 84 seconds per endpoint. So this is not something that's taking days, going back to AI and just, but also what's ironic is that this is not necessarily a CEO's fault or board members' fault. This is your IT provider being the weakest link. This is your IT, because CEOs aren't installing SolarWinds. They're not going to Best Buy and saying, let me install SolarWinds on all my machines, right? This is the IT provider that is not doing their job. I don't know why you would. I mean, I know CrowdStrike happened with the updates and all that stuff, but my RMM, I want it to automatically update. I'm willing to take that risk. I don't want to wait 2 weeks or any of that. All that stuff is just automatic. So I think that just goes back to who are you hiring, especially if you don't have an IT provider. And I see this a lot where you may have X amount of computers and then you just, for whatever reason, you stop dealing with an MSP or break fix guy and there was never a proper offboarding. And then I'll go in and I'll see, what was that software called? Like PC Anywhere or, one of those old school applications that's still running. And it's there and it's an unpatched old version. And it's open to the world. So this is just, again, an example of why you need to make sure that the MSP that you're using is sharp and, you have controls in place. Back to what you're saying, Randy, about zero trust.
Yep. Yeah, this is interesting. It's going to be another big deal, and it's part of a bigger trend. So, keep your eye on.
I'm giving everybody the heads up. This is there. This is going to be ugly. This is going to be
very ugly.
We're talking about for weeks. People don't get in front of. I mean, we don't know. Based on past history, companies are not going to be quick to patch this. And these guys, I'm telling you, they have bots running right now that are looking for this stuff, right? And if they figure out that you have it, they're going targeted at that point, right? And it's going to be whether you have it exposed to the internet or not. If you don't have it exposed to the internet and they know you have it for some reason, they were able to steal a vendor list somewhere. That stuff's out there, guys. They sell this stuff. So SolarWinds sells their list of customers to other people, and that stuff gets hacked and that's out there, right? That's how they figure this stuff out. Who's using SolarWinds? Who's using the Web Help Desk for SolarWinds? Let's go see if we can find a database on the dark web. I guarantee you there's one out there, right? Now they just try to target these companies and send them phishing emails to see if they click on something, to see if they can get a credential or two, right? So it doesn't have to be exposed to the dark web or to the web, but I guarantee you some of these systems are going to be exposed to the web and they're going to find them.
But if I'm SolarWinds, why am I not going to my software developers and saying any device that phones home with our product, you got to go ahead and just send the update to fix this. I don't care if they sign no automatic updates or whatever, because it's going to be, at the end of the day, it's going to be bad press for SolarWinds.
Yeah. You mentioned
they have a patch out, so it's just whether or not these organizations patch.
Yeah, but they just need to put it and be like, "Hey, sorry, we just did it." You know.
Bryan, you mentioned passwords. You mentioned passwords. When I was doing research for the show, I found, and it was a topic, one of my top 3 topics. One of them was this RMM stuff that we're talking about here, and another one was looking at leaked passwords. They've used AI to realize when people make long passwords, they use a lot of company lingo, and like company culture comes out, whether it is spoken culture or an AI culture, IT culture or whatever, comes out in the passwords, and they're using that to guess passwords. So get on the website, look at different things and using that to guess passwords, which is mind blowing. Surprised, not, what is that word? Expected, surprised, but still it's expected. But yeah, so that's a thing too, man.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, so a couple of things here to wrap this up, guys, that I'm thinking about as we talk about this. Number one, I think about those businesses out there that, if you've acquired a business or you've bought businesses or merged with businesses lately, like just make sure that this stuff just isn't sitting out there somewhere on a system that you're not aware of, because that right there is more common than you would think. We run into that often with companies who have done a lot of acquiring or have, are in private equity or what have you. And they just have all these systems that they've acquired quickly, but they don't have full inventory of what's out there. Right. So make sure that you understand, if you live in that world of acquisitions, your risk might be a little bit higher around this. So, figure out what you have. And if you have it, either get it segmented, get it shut down, or get it updated. The other thing that comes to mind here, guys, is patch compliance. It's really, I think that the world operates in a place where patching compliance is measured in a quarterly basis. And I think that is shrinking as a result of these things, right? You need to patch within days, not quarters. That's something that organizations are probably going to have to adapt and pivot around. And then just, think about having some kind of system in place that you're alerting when new remote access tools get installed, right? That's pretty easy to do, right, guys?
Yeah.
Perspective, so that means and that's operational maturity, cyber maturity, right? That's we have a list of this software and that's all we use and that's all we allow. So if anything else pops up, somebody's going to get alerted to it. And that's where you need to be in today's day and age, because as I laid out for you, their earmarkers early on in these attacks that we're seeing early on here, they're using tools that fly under the radar. There are known tools that are out there that will not trigger anything from any security software you have running or any superstar security team that you think you have watching your systems. So that's the bottom line.
SolarWinds needs to it's going to be a PR nightmare for them, and you're going to have MSPs not wanting to buy the product anymore. And to an extent, it wasn't even their fault.
To an extent, it was not even their fault is correct.
I think that sounds like something you mentioned at the beginning of the show, Bryan.
Yes, sir. We're going to move on to Andre's topic. And Andre's topic here matters because it's about attacker economics, right? And this is something I've harped on a lot in the last couple of years, where I was probably one of the few people out there who called out this pivot and said that this is going to be the new way, and I was right. But Andre's here to say that data theft only extortion model is paying less, and fewer victims are paying to keep stolen data quiet. So ransomware groups are looking around at each other going, this doesn't seem to be working too well. And cyber researchers out there are expecting them to lean back into encryption because downtime creates urgency. So bring us the details, Andre.
Yeah, there's seasons for everything. And a couple of years ago, we would talk about this hospital got hacked and this school system, and that still happens. But I mean, there was like a treasure trove where sometimes we could easily talk about 15 in one episode, and that causes chaos. And what that also causes is you got the FBI and other law enforcement organizations now trying to go after these ransomware groups. So what they decided is, all right, well, let's play a little fair game. Let's go ahead and tell them that we have the data, and let's be a gentleman about it and say, access through the back, talk to them through back channels and say, we have this information, and if you go ahead and just pay us X dollars, we're going to go ahead and, delete the information, and, you can pay us, it won't make the news, and everything, it'll be okay. Well, unfortunately for the bad guys, they're realizing, well, companies are just saying, screw it. I don't care if our client's social security numbers or, sensitive information is out there and it was our fault. Go ahead, do whatever you want with it. So it seems like now the bad guys are saying, okay, well, we just got to go back to paying, right? We got to go back to now halting your operations. And hopefully from there, we have to then go and they're going to have to spend more money because when they do have ransomware on machines. Now you have to now negotiate. There's like call centers. There's all this extra expenses that the bad guys now have to take. But they're saying that we just have to go back to this because we try to go a different route. No one's willing to pay us, so we're just going to go ahead and inflict pain. So my prediction, based on this, these researchers, is the next 2 or 3 months. We're going to be talking about this organization down, this government entity down, and they're going to be locked out, ransomware, and it's going to be, 2004 all over again.
It's the old cat and mouse game. And then sometimes in the old cat and mouse game, you go back and you just build a better mousetrap, right? So it's a little bit of that going on. And you're right, it's going to seem like 2004 again. But like I've mentioned before, I had a history professor one time told me, just when you're thinking about everything, just follow the stinking money. And, if they have tactics that are faltering, we mentioned, what was that, just like last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about how some of their tactics were becoming more violent. And I was like, man, if they do that to the wrong people, they're going to get like, a Navy SEAL raid on their house or whatever, on their office, wherever that is, but bottom line is they're going to follow the money. They're going to go where they can get the most money. So we'll see about this. And, this is a real kind of a pain because this has to be dealt with when they encrypt the data. Whereas when they just steal the data and don't encrypt it, the company can just say, hey, we'll just ignore them or whatever. So yeah, anyway, it's all about the money.
Oh, it is all about the money. So let's see what we got going on here. So encryption pressure ramps up again, right? Most expensive meeting you will have is guys, one where you realize your restoration plan was not a tested capability, right? That's where we're back to again, right? We're not back to threatening to get a release of information and public disclosure. We're back to testing whether your restoration plan works. So that's backups, right? And you got to remember, right? The reason we moved away from this is because the backups were actually working. Right? That's really one of the reasons. And the other reason was speed. It took them a while to get this stuff done. So if they just steal the data, then they can get to asking for the ransom quicker. When they got to encrypt files, that doesn't happen in 3 seconds.
Mm-mm.
Right? It could take days, hours, depending on how many files are encrypting. Right? So it's very interesting that we're going back here.
And you know what, Brian, based on our our previous segment, I wouldn't be surprised if they use BitLocker to encrypt and then just reboot the dang machine. Hopefully I didn't give anybody an idea. But if you don't have the decryption key, you can't get in, because that would be a native tool. Windows Defender's not going to blow a gasket. Windows Defender's going to go, oh, you're using BitLocker. That's a good thing. God bless you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that I could totally see that happening this next little round of the cat and mouse game. So
yep. Then you're going to have your companies can't make their payroll because they can't access their systems and internal systems. Patient care is going to get, messed up again, how we saw where, ambulances are having to divert to different hospitals and stuff like that. So it's going to come back.
Very interesting too, guys, that a couple of things. It's disturbing at the end of the day, right? Because this tells us that businesses do not care about your data. That is like the number one thing that this tells you. And it's scary, right? Because we're all freely doing business with banks, with organizations that, because of maybe laws, regulations, whatever, policy, they require us to give up certain identifiable things about us so they can store, they can use just to do business with you or them, vice versa, right? Go to a hospital, they want your ID, they want to know who you are, what you have, and they record all that, right? When you see statistics like this one, guys, Coveware noted that less than 2.5% of that MOVEit breach that we talked about, right, where all these companies got hit, they had their data stolen. We're talking about terabytes and terabytes of data, dozens and dozens of companies that were hit by this cyber attack, guys. 2.5% of them paid. None of them paid in a later campaign where they came back around and said, hey, we're going to do this, that, or the XYZ with your data. So businesses have basically put the line in the stand and said, look, unless you're shutting our operations down, we don't care if you steal our customers' data and threaten to release it. Like that's not a big deal to us.
Right.
Well, you can do that all day long. We'll just go buy them protection. And as long as we do that, our system that we operate under, our government, our laws, our judicial system will back us and or protect us. I guess that's the thought process. They're not too far wrong from that, right? That's the reality. You'd like to see it differently. You'd like to see these companies be held accountable when they do the right thing, but they're not. They go under the protection of bankruptcy or credit monitoring. And as long as they do those things, our government's like, oh, okay, well, you did the right thing on the back end, so you're good, right? But if you shut down their operations and they can't make money, that seems to work. So these guys are in business. They're trying to make money. They're going back to the extortion tactics that work. So here we go, Andre, right? Get ready. We didn't predict this in 2025.
Yeah.
Kind of like a quick pivot here in 2026. We'll see if it happens. Usually the way this plays out, it takes a while. We'll probably start seeing ransomware rear its ugly head here in the middle of the summer, right? Like it did maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And the stories will be opposite of what they are right now. I'm reading stories this morning when I was doing research, guys. Oh, ransomware is going down. No, it's not. It's like the FTC came out and said only 2% of scams out there are ransomware. Well, who's reporting the ransomware? The FTC, number one.
Right.
And number two, like most ransomware goes unreported anyway.
Yep.
There are plenty of websites out there. I'm not going to name them but they track ransomware events. They're like dozens and dozens every day. It ain't slowing down, right? So you got to consider the source. FTC is not a ransomware detection organization. They're a reporting organization. So unless somebody voluntarily reports to the FTC that they had to deal with ransomware, it's probably not going to get there, right? So but you read stuff like that and it hits headlines and people start to think like, oh yeah, and I'm hearing that they don't even really encrypt anymore. Well, it's going back to that, right? So you need to be ready for this stuff. And like that's what happens though. We get complacent, right? For the last 2 years, companies have probably backed off certain things around encryption because they're like, oh, all we got to worry about now is our data being stolen or exfiltrated, right? So they pivot, and now the cat and mouse game's going the other way. So now you got to pivot back to kind of the strategies that work when they were encrypting, and you got to worry about that again. All right, Randy, man, you're up. Ready to go?
You're going to tee me up? You want me just to take the ball and run with it?
No, I'm going to tee you up, my friend. Of course, I'm going to tee you up. This is a good one. I like this one. We got BridgePay, right? And this article should make executives pay attention because it's painfully simple, right? This organization, this company, BridgePay, confirmed a ransomware attack that forced key systems offline and triggered a widespread payment disruption. Merchants and even city services ended up telling people cash only. So, Randy, break down what happened here and what should it force leaders to do with vendor risk and contingency planning?
Yeah, so this isn't really a breach story, Brian. This is a payment provider, payment company failure. So basically, BridgePay provides like credit card services for organizations, a bunch of cities, and who knows what else. And it's funny because, researching for this article, I found a city in in Texas called San Angelo that was saying their payments processor was down. And, and I'm just looking through, like, I've got this feed actually. You gave me some ideas on that. I have this feed set up, finds things out there that haven't hit the news yet. Found another city whose payment processor was down. And this all went down Friday evening. So BridgePay provides payment processing for, like I said, a bunch of organizations, but including San Angelo, Texas, Wichita, Kansas, Frisco, Texas, got one for you, Andre, Palm Bay, Florida, and then Bryan, Texas. And basically what has happened is people haven't been able to make their payments. And this is disturbing, Brian, because getting your payments is how businesses get cash, right? And so if you don't have cash flow, you're going to go out of business at some point. So most businesses are living from check to check and don't have a reserve in the bank at all. Maybe they have a line of credit. So they're going to have to go into their line of credit if they can't receive the payments. That's why this is so dang bad, because of that. Because if businesses can't get paid, nothing else matters. And so the BridgePay, which was affected, like I said, on Friday towards end of day is when this started breaking. But BridgePay sits between your customers and you and collects the money. They do 40 million transactions a month. They're used heavily by small businesses, restaurants, utilities, and city governments. So the attackers here are basically, they're going after a high pressure point, because I guarantee you, BridgePay is not just like, telling the bad guys to go suck a lemon. I guarantee you they're in chat negotiations with them, even as they're trying to restore their systems, because it may come to a place. What are we now? We're on Tuesday. So we're 4 days into this thing. It may come to a place where they have to just pay the ransom and then get back to work. Here's what I would suggest, because I see on this list, small businesses, organizations, restaurants always have a backup payment method. Don't just rely on one. It's so easy, especially for a restaurant. You can have like a little, like maybe you have a big giant POS that is tied to BridgePay. There's no reason why you can't have a Square swipe or something like that as a backup so people can keep paying, because if they have to do cash, it's going to really slow things down. And I don't know anybody other than businesses that even have checks anymore this day. So we're going to see how this is going to play out, Bryan. I looked right before the podcast. BridgePay's status page said that they're still down and they're still investigating. Maybe they've opened up since we've been on this this call, but it's not looking too good. So very interesting. This is a time, you said at the beginning of the show, like, when does a vendor issue become a you issue? This is literally a you issue. Even though it's a vendor that you're using, they've stopped all payments. Can y'all imagine, just the two of y'all, could you imagine if your payment processor quit working? You know, money comes in every day that pays the bills and all that jazz. So This is a really big deal. I'm going to let you guys have any comments or questions about it?
Yeah, I did a quick Facebook search for it while you were talking, and I found a company called DC Meats and Vegetables, and that they posted this last Friday. FYI, bring cash or check everywhere you go today. We'd like to inform you that our system is down because of a nationwide outage, which may result in temporary disruptions to credit card transactions. Bring cash, and this is Friday. So if I'm selling vegetables, where my bananas and those produce things that are going to expire, and now I have clients that are coming in and they just don't have cash, and they say, you know what, I don't have cash, I'll come back another time, and they leave their bananas or other things that can expire, your business will suffer from that, right? And then just kind of reiterate what you were saying. I found another company that basically is kind of like, in a way, begging their clients to bring the cash because they're a small business and they need to make sure that their employees are taken care of as far as payroll. So this definitely affects the small business. And now, to put the cherry on top, according to BridgePay, they're saying that hold on, let me find it. They basically, I had to hear somewhere, but basically it was saying that, hey, we don't believe any client's information or anything like that has been exposed. Everything is encrypted.
Saying credit card information.
Credit card. Yeah, thank you. So that's what they're already saying is encrypted. So hopefully that is the case. Obviously now with chip cards and that technology is working a different way. But man, if there's a spreadsheet somewhere where everybody's credit card numbers and names or something like that, we're all
exactly. And don't they all? I read that too, and I had thought about mentioning it, because don't they always kind of say that, like, nothing to see here, no data?
They definitely come out way too soon. Like they have like you just have no clue. I mean, you can have a pretty good idea, but you don't know. If you don't know how you were attacked, you have no clue.
Yeah. I just read today that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say no evidence of usable data exposure is already what they're saying.
Yeah, it's too early to say. I read about an attack.
They're just trying to calm people down. Thinking, do I got to call my bank and cancel my credit card number or get a new credit card? Like that's calls that they're getting now from people who are panicking, who know that they did a transaction with one of these businesses, right? So, Randy, I love your suggestion around an alternate processing plan. A couple interesting things I saw here, guys. They got the big guns helping them. They got FBI, Secret Service, and external forensic team helping them with recovery and figuring out what happened. The other, this is the other thing is, like, I literally remember talking to a business owner about a week and a half ago, and he was telling me how excited he was over this new technology, this SaaS application that they were going to build or that they were implementing in their business. And he was so excited because it was like a bunch of things that they do in their business, like payroll, accounting, and other functions of their business that they do, from an operations standpoint to help them deliver their service, is all under this one SaaS. Everything's in here, right? So it's all there for them. They just log in, they can do everything, right? And that sounds great from a business standpoint. It sounds like, man, this is technology. We got one place, everything's consolidated. But guys, I don't know if you feel this way, but as a security person, when I hear stuff like that, I hear single choke point. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, that is, or you're putting everything in one place. You're doing everything there. That is like your single choke point. That's where you're going to have a problem. Thoughts on that?
Well, that's part of the big vulnerability here, is that, you know, in your business process, let's just call it a straight line. If it's a road, you just took out the road. Do you know what I mean? Like a whole section of getting from here to there. So it's crazy, and it is way too early to say that no one's data was affected, because you just don't know until you know, and they don't know yet, you know. So maybe their lawyer told them to say that. I don't know. But you should always be transparent. Always check with your lawyers about what exactly to say, because you can get yourself into more trouble by saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why this company finds itself. But yeah, I mean, you guys, you have to understand that, like, when you decide to go in these directions with like single providers for various services, like let's say your accounting, your payroll, your HR, right, are all tied up into one system, and that system goes down. Can your business survive that if it's down for an extended period of time, right? And that, if the answer is no, then going and sitting down and going, okay, what can we get to replace our payment system? Randy had a great idea. Square. What can you get if your what can you do if payroll's down, right? Okay, we're going to do this, right? Maybe you have a spreadsheet where you can quickly calculate what to pay, what to withhold, or another option is like, hey, we're just going to have paper checks ready to go in case we need to pay our people. We're just going to write them their check without withholding the taxes, and we'll worry about the taxes when the system gets back up. That's an option, but at least you have a plan, and you're not putting yourself in a situation where you got employees running to the internets in a Reddit telling the world that you're not getting paid because of a ransomware attack, right? Because that's what happens, and that's how it plays out.
Yeah. And this goes right back to my previous article about now getting companies to feel that pain, so that way they can pay up.
Yes, sir. All right, let's bring this sucker home, guys. So back at the top of the show, we talked about that SolarWinds story. You know, a reminder that internet exposed IT tools are not harmless. They're often the front door to ransomware conditions. And we know that this is going to be a big story coming down the pike for some businesses who don't get ahead of this, right? So pay attention to this podcast, get ahead of this sucker, so it doesn't become that big problem that we think it's going to become. Prove us wrong, right? Second, the ransomware market is adapting. If encryption pressure increases, downtime becomes the weapon again, which means restore capability is executive priority number one. It is not an IT checkbox, folks, and stop treating it like that. And I think that's what we highlighted today on the show. Randy brought us the BridgePay story, which we dove into here. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Randy, right, that brought that one? Yeah. Right. I can't remember. But that proves a blast radius that we talk about on the show all the time is not theoretical. Your vendors can take you offline in public, and customers do not care whose fault it is. So if you got value from the show today, hit subscribe, hit that share button. Share it with another leader who owns a business or owns the outcomes, like I said at the top of the show. And you can also support us at buymeacoffee.com/Security Squawk. For Randy, Andre, and I, we will catch you next time. Stay safe and take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.